Capricorn Sun, Moon and Risings. Welcome to your July 2022 horoscope. My name is Cailin and today I'm going to be covering the major transits for the month ahead using tropical astrology and the whole sign system. I recommend that you watch your ascendant sign horoscope first and foremost because generally speaking, it will be the most accurate for you overall. Having said that, the sun sign horoscope will tell you more about your life goals and your career, whereas the moon sign horoscope will pertain more to your family, your living circumstances, relationships, and your emotional health and well-being. So if you do have time to watch all three for your sun, moon, and rising, go for it. Now, let's begin with the first transit of the month, which is the Mars square Pluto transit. So this will occur on the 2nd of July. Mars will be in Aries in your 4th house, squaring Pluto in Capricorn in your 1st house at 27 degrees. We actually saw a conjunction between Mars and Pluto at 27 degrees Capricorn earlier this year on the 3rd of March. So the themes or the things that you experienced and were focusing on around the first week of March may be coming up again for you in the first few days of July. Ultimately, squares indicate some sort of challenge or conflict, and sometimes it can actually be an inner conflict that we are experiencing. So this transit is not to be feared. We had another one around September last year when Mars was in Libra. Ultimately, with this square occurring between your 1st house and your 4th house, I see this as being related to what you want to do in life, your approach, your identity, how you want to be received and perceived as an individual. And with the 4th house ruling over property, family, whether this is your children, your parents, your family in general, and also your emotional happiness and health and well-being, there may be some sort of conflict which is arising during this period of time or during the first few days of July, where it's highlighting some of the following: whether or not you feel accepted by your family. You may be comparing yourself to a family member, or you may have the experience of your family comparing you to someone else. Now, you may be unsure about where you stand with certain family members, whether this is your relationship with them or your ideals about whether or not to start a family. Obviously, not all of you are in touch with your family or have family, so there are, of course, other ways that this can play out for you. You may be discovering that you're not actually that happy with your current living circumstances, whether this is who you live with. Maybe you have flatmates, maybe you're lonely and you want to have someone move in with you. You may be unhappy about where you live or your standards of living. Now, you could be having some traumatic flashbacks, whether this is to your childhood or things that, happened recently or many years ago. Either way, the 4th house represents our deep-seated emotional stability and emotional foundation. So this square between Mars and Pluto can see you feeling a little bit unsettled or being aware of something that you are unhappy with or uncomfortable with. Now, on a different note, this can see you wanting to take action with respect to changing up your living circumstances, either confronting a family member, trying to solve an issue or a conflict with them, or maybe even cutting someone out of your life. And this can see you doing a real deep dive into how you can pursue a more consistent emotional stability. So I don't want you guys to freak out because we experience this transit maybe once or twice a year. So you may just be feeling a little bit sensitive around this period of time. Now, it doesn't need to necessarily be on the 2nd of July. It can be as Mars approaches this square. So once it gets to about, 20 degrees, and maybe even I would say after the 5th of July, things can settle down emotionally, because this is when Mars will enter the sign of Taurus. So Mars will spend about 6 weeks in Taurus in your 5th house. I love that Mars is in your 5th house, because this is, I guess, seeing you have a creative spark or surge of energy. You can be very proactive in pursuing your hobbies and passions. And Mars will be here until the 20th of August. So the 5th house is one of the most fun and lucky houses in astrology. It represents our natural talents and gifts. It is connected to romance, children, authorship, sport, risk-taking behavior, and speculative investments. So all of those topics could be the focus for you for this 6-week period. So let's talk about romance and sex, because this is a very passionate time of the year for you. It could be a very spicy time in your romantic life. You could start dating again. You could start dating someone new. You could be asking someone out. And also, a new chapter can begin in your love life for those of you who are already in a committed relationship. And for some of you, this could even be like a friends with benefits situation, especially because Mars is a planet which is connected to sex, and it rules over your 11th house of friendships and your wider network. On a different note, this can see some of you trying to start a family, or perhaps you're putting your energy into helping a community of children. And I'm saying this because Mars rules over your 11th house, which represents long-term projects and large-scale projects and communities. The 5th house is children. So maybe you're working towards helping a large group of children, or working on a project which will benefit children somehow. Now, with the 5th house representing your business, this can see you putting your energy into starting a new business or acting on a new business idea. For those of you who already own your own business, this could be a new direction that you're trying to take it in. Maybe you're developing a new product or a new service, and you could be quite selective in the people that you do business with. And I'm saying this because Mars represents cutting things out, and Mars rules over your 11th house, which represents your wider network and business connections. So you could be solving an issue within your business. And for some of you, you could just be discovering a new talent or something that you're very passionate about, because the 5th house represents our natural talents and gifts, and it is one of the most creative houses in the zodiac, in astrology, I mean to say. So Mars represents breaking new ground, trying something new, and experimenting. So maybe you're going to join a new art class or take up a new sport, or you could just find that you are enjoying giving some kind of creative performance. So this could be acting. You may actually be giving a sporting performance. So there could be like a tournament or a competition that you're engaging in. The 5th house also rules over adventures. So does the 9th house, but the 5th house can be taking risks. So maybe you're going to be doing something like skydiving, or I don't know, bungee jumping, hang gliding, or something of that nature. And you could also just be going on a vacation, which is quite, what was I going to say? Which comes out of the blue, which is really spontaneous. And it's 111 on the clock right now. So I think that's going to be an exciting time for a lot of you Capricorns. So now, on the 13th of July, Venus in Gemini in your 6th house is going to make a trine to Saturn in Aquarius in your 2nd house, and this will be at 24 degrees. So trines are very positive and beneficial aspects. They can represent something going well or being in flow, especially because trines carry the energy of Jupiter. And with Venus in Gemini in your 6th house and Saturn in Aquarius in your 2nd house, for many of you, this will be connected to your health, daily habits, and your diet. Now, Saturn is, of course, the planet that rules you. So, anytime that we have Saturn making aspects or entering into new signs or stationing retrograde, you as Capricorns, and especially Capricorn risings, will be very aware of this. So, on the health front, with Saturn being in your 2nd house and Saturn representing restrictions and limitations and stability, your eating habits could be stabilizing. So if you had issues with your diet, whether this is limiting your intake of something or cutting something out of your diet or just stabilizing it or restricting it in some way, you can have success in this department. This could see you quitting a bad habit and actually sticking to it because the 6th house represents your daily habits. So this could be connected to smoking, biting your nails, especially because the 2nd house rules over the mouth. So things that we're putting in the mouth, whether these are cigarettes or your nails. Now, this could see you coming across a health professional that you like. Okay, so with Venus, you get along with this person. They are helping you. They know what you need and they're responding to you really well because Saturn is you in this instance. And you could form an ongoing relationship with this person because Saturn represents committing to something. So this could be a doctor, a dietitian, a nutritionist, a naturopath, a gynecologist, or someone who deals with female or feminine health. And it could be an ob-gyn. And maybe you're just figuring out how to regulate your hormones, whether this is with the help of a health professional, or maybe this is something that you are discovering for yourself. Now, on a different level, this trine can see you having a more stabilized income, especially because the 2nd house represents your finances and your income. Venus is a planet which represents money and wealth, and Venus rules over your 5th house, which could represent owning your own business, but it also rules over your 10th house, which represents career. So there's a number of different avenues in which you can have a more stable income. On a different note, with Venus being in your 6th house and the 6th house representing debts and Venus being friendships and relationships, someone could be helping you out financially speaking, or perhaps you're, getting a handle on an existing debt or a financial matter, and this support could be coming through from your romantic partner because Venus rules over your 5th house. Like I said, it could be a friend, or for those of you who have children who are older, with Venus ruling over your 5th house, it could even be your child who is helping you out in some respect. Moving on to the 17th/18th of July, this is when we're going to see Venus entering the sign of Cancer, which means it will be transiting your 7th house. With Mars in your 5th house of dating and Venus in your 7th house of committed romantic relationships, this is a very positive indicator for romantic relationships going well or starting. Okay, so you could be entering into a committed relationship. And I'm saying this because Venus rules over your 5th house. So again, this would be, this is actually the 3rd indicator to me that romance is going to be going in a positive direction and that it's being indicated by these astrological transits. So you could become exclusive with someone. And I'm saying this because Venus rules over your 10th house, which represents your status and your reputation. So we can see there being a status change when it comes to your relationship. And for some of you, This could be going public in your relationship. You could be enjoying time with your significant other. I am going to go through some non-romantic ways that this can play out, but just to bear with me. For those of you who are in a committed long-term relationship or who are married, this can see your significant other looking more beautiful or attractive. They could just be feeling more attractive, and they could just be experiencing good luck or a sense of peace and harmony, which is another area that Venus rules over. So your seventh house is your partner's first house. So Venus through your seventh house tells me that your partner is having a good time. Now, on a non-romantic front, this could see a new business partnership taking up or starting, I should say. You could be making this public, like I said, with Venus ruling over your 10th house, which represents this status change. And on a different note, this could see you being offered a new work contract because the seventh house represents commitments and it is a business house. And again, your 10th house of career is activated on a different level, but still connected to the work contract. For those of you who are already employed, this could be an improvement to that contract in a way that benefits you. Now, on a different note, you could be making new friends or just seeing your friends more on a one-to-one level. So maybe this is, going out for dinners or lunches or just spending more quality time with your friends. You could just be feeling more sociable, generally speaking, and this could attract people to you and good luck to you in a relationship context. Now, on a different note, because this is a business house that we're looking at, you could be making more sales, doing more deals, having positive client interactions, and you could be meeting some new clients, and these could turn into ongoing relationships. Now, on the 28th/29th of July, we are going to see Jupiter station retrograde in the sign of Aries in your fourth house at 8 degrees. With Jupiter being retrograde for 5 months every year, this is really a time where we're now addressing the learning curve because Jupiter represents life experience and wisdom that comes through knowing a subject or having intimate knowledge of something. So Jupiter in the fourth house wants to bring you blessings and abundance and, expansion, whether this is of your investment portfolio or with your property, or maybe even just more emotional happiness and stability. So Jupiter wants to bring blessings to the house that it transits, but when it's a retrograde, we can feel like we might have taken two steps forward and now one step back. So essentially, Jupiter in your fourth house could be touching on your property and living circumstances, the people that you live with, your family, your emotional happiness, as well as your ancestry and your heritage and your roots. So you may be trying to renovate your home or expand your home in some way. It doesn't need to be, building another story on top of what you've got. It could just be adding on to your property, whether you own it or not, it doesn't matter. There could be lots of expenses which are connected to your property and your living circumstances. And I'm saying this because Jupiter rules over your 12th house, which is Sagittarius, and the 12th house represents large expenses. So Jupiter will expand whatever it's touching, and this can see you having to pour a lot of your money into your home, into your property. And for some of you, this could actually be you putting money into relocating to a foreign, faraway country. And this could be quite a process. This could take several months. Jupiter will be retrograde for 5 months, like I mentioned. It's going to retrograde back into the sign of Pisces. and then it'll be direct on the 23rd of November, and it will re-enter Aries on the 20th of December. So maybe you're putting the plans into motion to move to a foreign country. And in terms of when you can be successful with this, if it's not happening already for you now, it could be when Jupiter conjuncts your fourth house cusp, if your fourth house cusp is in Aries, or we could be looking at May in 2023 when Jupiter leaves Aries and then it's bestowed its blessings onto your fourth house. Now, this could see friends and siblings and relatives coming to live with you, especially because Jupiter rules over your third house. And maybe they're already living with you, but it's too much. Maybe they've overstayed their welcome, or maybe you're just overwhelmed by the amount of people coming and going out of your home. To be fair, this could indicate that you have been relocating back and forth while Jupiter has been in Aries since the 10th of May, and maybe this will continue over the next few months, or maybe even until, May in 2023. And lastly, with this transit, you could be paying a large sum of money in trying to support your family or the people that you live with. It doesn't need to be your family. And you could be trying to learn a lot about your ancestry and your heritage. Maybe you're putting together a family tree. You may have hit a snag or a dead end in trying to find out something about your family, and you don't know where to go next with putting these pieces together. Worst case scenario, you may have found out something that you didn't want to know, but ultimately, Jupiter is the planet of blessings and luck and good fortune. So, let's leave it at that. And I'm going to move on to the last transit for the month. So, on the 31st of July, we are going to see Uranus, the North Node, and Mars form a conjunction at 18 degrees in the sign of Taurus. To be fair, Mars will be at 17 degrees, but I'm still including it in this analysis because it's relevant and it's so close to the conjunction. Uranus and the North Node, only form this conjunction once every 15 to 16 years. So it is a very big deal, and you should pay a lot of attention to it because what I'm about to say can impact you for the next 15 years, although I do believe that you will be experiencing some of these developments around the 31st of July, maybe plus or minus 1 to 2 weeks. Uranus transits, bless them, tend to be pretty close to the date. So, with how this is going to impact you personally, I'm really excited about this because it's happening in your fifth house. And as I mentioned earlier, this is one of the luckiest houses. It brings happiness, new talents, creative insights, and essentially, this can see you having a sudden download of information. So that's what Uranus brings you. It's like the full picture, the full concept, knowing all the pieces of the puzzle, but then you just have to fit it all together. So this could be connected to a new creative project that you are starting. It could be to do with writing a book. This could be the discovery of a new skill or talent or hobby or passion. And also, I just want to say there is some overlap with what I said about Mars transiting your fifth house. So just bear that in mind. Now, this can see you starting a new business. Is this a good date to launch a new business or a new service or product? Absolutely. Yes, please do. If that's on the horizon for you, this can see you having some sort of new discovery of what direction you want to take your business in, new services that you can offer, new products that you can sell. And in terms of Uranus, the North Node of Mars, and what they represent just as planetary energies, Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. So it's connected to genius ideas, sudden insights, It's a mover and shaker planet. It can be quite confrontational or shocking in nature, but that's only because it's so progressive. It is connected to science, technology, innovation, inventions, and large groups and communities. And then the North Node as a planetary, well, it's not a planet, but the North Node as an energy represents experimentation. It is connected to something that's artificial. So we could be seeing the blend of artificial intelligence here. It is connected to technology, if I didn't say that already. And it has a very ambitious energy, kind of like Mars. And of course, Mars is ambitious anyway, and Mars rules over engineering. So if we look at what these planets rule in your chart, we've got Uranus ruling over your third house, which represents communications, as well as technology, apps, websites, marketing, etc. And then we've got Mars ruling over your fourth house, which represents land and property and family, well, family matters in general. And then we've got Mars ruling over your 11th house, which represents your long term goals and dreams and large scale projects and complex interconnected systems. And of course, Mars ruling over your 11th house can indicate collaborations as well. So we've really got the hallmark of, or the makings of, everything I would want to see for a new invention, a new creative idea, something which is so progressive, which can help people. It can take a long time. This is your creative baby. This is something that you can turn into a business. You can monetize it. Maybe you'll be building a new prototype for something. And, in terms of the topics that we could be looking at, it could be finances, it could be the food industry, because I'm looking at Taurus, it could be resources, whether these are natural resources, which is Taurus, or something which is artificial or, created or man-made, in which we're looking at the North Node and Uranus. Ultimately, this is an exciting time for you to be a pioneer and take your hobbies and passions in a new direction. You could discover a talent for science, for mathematics, for engineering, for thinking of new inventions. And this could be connected to fifth house matters. This could be grounded in the sporting world. This could be to do with, politics. The fifth house is one of the, houses that's connected to politics. This could be to do with speculative investments, vacations, restaurants, anything that's glamorous and fun. The fifth house is also connected to theatres and the cinemas. And of course, it would be remiss of me not to talk about things like developing new vehicles or advancements for existing vehicles, whether these are cars, which would be, the third house, Uranus ruling over the third house, or this could be to do with air travel, because it's Uranus. Uranus rules over the air. Obviously, there's a number of different ways that this can play out for you. I just want to reiterate that this is a 15-year chapter, a new cycle that's starting for you. On a more personal level, you could be seeing developments which are connected to romance. This is like a love at first sight energy, which is super exciting. To be fair, because we've got Uranus here, which can represent separation, and Mars, which can represent cutting something off, you could be ending a relationship. But I just want to add here that the North Node will bring something new. So if you are ending a relationship, it's only to welcome in new love or a new relationship, or to make way for something which is more aligned to you. This could be you making a decision to start a family in a way which is not traditional. Maybe that's an untraditional setup of your family. Maybe this could be adopting a child. And when I say traditional, I mean conventional and mainstream. I hope you catch my drift. Maybe you're wanting to adopt a child, foster a child. Maybe you're going to have to look after someone else's child. And one thing I do want to add here is to be careful not to form new addictions, because the fifth house can represent partying and indulging, and the North Node is a placement which can represent addictions, and Uranus can bring on this sudden obsession with something that you're experimenting in and trying. So just be mindful of that. And so, Capricorn, that's all I have for you for July 2022. I hope that you enjoyed this horoscope. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And of course, if you'd like to see more content on this channel, please subscribe. Enjoy your month ahead, and I will see you guys in August.